Alright, hey y'all, same day of course, same clothes and stuff, same dirt. But I wanted to show you my front yard this time. Just like a quick overview. Well, from my angle, huh? Let me go do it from the actual front. So you can kind of see it's a mix of different things. Now in the front I do have a couple of more, I guess, ornamental things. Because I mean, it's your front yard, anybody can walk into it. I have marigolds, which this will actually become a bush about this size, so it's gonna come back every year as well. There's a rabbit in the front yard who keeps eating the head. He was eating all the heads off of my flowers, but I rearranged my plants based on what rabbits don't like to eat. So, or maybe they do, I don't know. But I just moved my things around so that on the border, like I have these, this is mint. You know, on the border I have things that it doesn't want to eat because it kept digging under these. These are blueberry bushes. This is another type of blueberry bush that was digging in there. Rabbits can dig 6 inches, which is like all the way. So like it was digging all these flowers up. Every morning I would come out here and it had dug them up. So I started, you could kind of tell, like I started mounding the dirt up to give it more work to do, and hopefully deter it from eating my flowers. I actually had these in vases and like that red one right there, but they only would make this part and then stop. So I planted them in the ground this year to see if I can get the flowers back, and they are back, which is just wonderful. So I lined the walkways with, I think it's a type of lily. And look at how amazing plants are. Now that rabbit, you see what that rabbit did to this plant? Look how brown this shit is. And this flower is still growing. Look here, you see that? It's growing. Life is amazing, y'all. Like, you can't kill life. Look at all of these are gonna have flowers, so that's along here. Inside this big space, which I used chicken wire, I had to build this, and I never put this in before, but again, this rabbit never bothered me before either. I have carrots in here. Y'all may think this is all weeds, but actually in Ohio, this is an indigenous plant. It's called purslane. It actually has like 15 times the omega acid, fatty acids of salmon. Like, it's one of the most nutritious things you could possibly eat. If any of y'all follow Dr. Sabi, it's actually listed on his list of foods as something you can eat, which, you know, I just couldn't believe that. But it's just everywhere. Look at this. Look at this. I used to, I learned what this stuff was because at work, when I would be weeding gardens, I just kept pulling this, and I'm like, what is it? What is it? So I finally went and looked it up, and I can't believe that we just throw away something that we could be eating. Remember I told y'all I had an African neighbor. She told me they eat this stuff all the time. They cook it the way you would cook spinach. So I'm gonna eat it too. I also found, you see this one? This is a tomato plant. I just found this in here because obviously I didn't plant a tomato in here at the carrots. But since tomatoes and carrots grow well together, I'm gonna leave it alone. You can see different ages, I'm gonna say, of my carrots because I put a lot of them out here and they didn't grow. So I came back and did it again. So this one's much smaller, of course, than that one over there. And you probably recognize the carrot tops from the backyard when I told y'all about, you know, keeping the root in and sprouting it in the water and the sun and then planting it. But these are actual carrots. In the first year of a carrot's life cycle, that's when it actually makes the greens at the top and the carrot fruit itself. But if you decide not to pull that, and it can live through the second year, because remember the year number 2 is the special year for producing, right? The second year, it's actually going to create seeds. It'll be like a big white flower on top and seeds. And maybe we'll get around to seeing one of them start to at least make the flower. I think it does that this year if I don't pull one of them. So I'll try to remember to do that. Because, yeah. Now, look at here. This is a kale plant. Totally different than the kale I have in the back, right? It's a different type of leaf, though. It really is. This is a old kale plant. I think I bought this 3 or 4 years ago. And when it came wintertime, I dug it up the ground. And this was year before last actually. I dug it out the ground and I just sat it in the garage. I didn't do anything to it. And when it started getting warm outside, it started growing. Like I just, what? Like what is this magical thing? So I stuck it back in the ground. And last year, instead of pulling it out, I just put extra, like it was a little bit bigger mound, but I put extra mulch and soil around the base of it to help winterize it and help it to live through the winter. And of course it did. Because this plant is so mature, it actually creates seeds. So you see all these yellow flowers? Remember I told you about the flowers? You can eat these flowers. They taste awesome. Once this flower leaves, it creates this little pod here, which becomes this elongated one. Looks kind of like a pea. You can eat those peas, kale pods, or if you decide not to eat them, they're going to turn brown and you can collect them. Inside these are kale seeds. And look at how many I have, you guys. I mean, I know y'all can see this. It's an amazing amount. And so, like, pretty much because I have this one plant, I'm going to have, like, kale for the rest of my life, okay? So I just need y'all to recognize the reusable resources that nature already has out there for us. I have lavender. I just started this lavender like a year or two ago from a piece I accidentally broke off. And whenever I do that, I just stick it in the dirt and see what happens. So I also accidentally did it again here. You see, I just stuck it in the dirt. What's amazing is it didn't even come green out of this part. It grew a new stem and created the plant again. So you can, once again, I got one lavender. I guess I got it for the rest of my life because you could keep making new ones, and it's actually a whole lot easier to do that from an established plant. I did the same thing with sage. This is something I did this year. I just wanted to try it because I never did it before. This is the first year that my sage was flowering. So y'all see this? Look how big this thing is. I can't remember if it's 3 years old or 4 years old, okay? But this is the first year that I got all these purple flowers. Now, I didn't pull all of them, but I cut quite a few off. But I mean, I don't eat sage with so much, so I'm gonna have to figure out something to do with it, like, I don't know, make oil or something. But you can eat the sage flowers. They taste great. I always see bees around this plant in particular, of course, because it's still kind of early in the season in consideration of flowers. And so this is a way for the bees to still have something to eat. Oh, look, see, here's a piece of a plant that I broke off and I stuck it in the ground. It may not do anything at all, but if it decides to grow, it's gonna make some really, really, really pretty flowers. I planted this year. This is a peony, which I just think is a pretty flower, but because it's the first year and it's just a bare root that I planted, but I bought this at the store, so you see that it really was just a stick like this, but it's starting to sprout now. Here's a hydrangea. So is that. I used to have some other ones up here, I think like 3 other ones, but they were like getting strangled to death by some random weed that wants to grow in here. But it's a weed that grows through the base of the hydrangea, and so it would like wrap around the roots, and it just was not letting my plants live. So this year I actually dug them all up and with my hands I went in there and found the root of those weeds, and I replanted the flowers on the side of my house, and made it a little nicer looking for my neighbor, because she's the one that has to look at that all the time. And they're doing well now. I don't even see those weeds anymore. And I'm starting to get flowers again. I wasn't getting flowers because the weeds were choking them. And as y'all can see, I'm starting to get some pink hydrangeas. So I'm excited. Here is another plant. Oh my God, these guys. They trimmed this bush and left these things in here. Once again, you see my little theme of circling my plants with rocks. I just find these rocks in the ground or wherever, when I'm working every now and again, and I just pick them up and take them home because I know I'm going to use them. This is called catmint. It's a mix of mint and catnip. And I actually decided to put this here because I do have a cat, and of course there's always wild cats, and they're gonna help keep the rabbit out of my friggin' yard. So I went ahead and planted it. I put it on the end, of course, because I don't really want my cat purposefully being invited to the middle of my garden. She doesn't really mess with it, but you know, cats will dig in your garden and pee, you know, because that's what they do. Here is an oregano plant. This one is different from the one in the back. I think this one probably maybe Greek or something. And the one in the back is called hot and spicy. But they do look different. Here's another honeysuckle. Looks totally different than a honeysuckle in my backyard because it's a different brand, I guess, or whatever. It bloomed all the flowers. They were there for like 1 week, and then that was it for that. So there you go. Y'all see this tree? It makes pink flowers, which are gone now. But that yellow thing in it, that's a weed. If you let them grow long enough, let me find an original one, because I know y'all have seen this before. Oh, those weeds over there. Everybody's seen that before. It turns into this one with the yellow flower on it. So if you are willing to let some stuff be a little more wild, you'll get more wild flowers instead of having to buy stuff. Now, I have, let's see here. Strawberries. Y'all see those? Got some strawberries. Again, the flower. Every time you see, so strawberries do white flowers. Every flower turns into a berry. Here's another one. Every flower turns into a berry. As you'll see though, like I showed y'all the blueberries earlier, they don't have flowers yet. It's not their season for like another month. And then they'll be coming out, but I can't wait for that. And the other thing I have up here, so there's the lavender again. You see, this just started. This is a 2-day-old flower bud of lavender. And they're gonna get so friggin' long and big. There will be so many bees. But I know as much as we're all scared of bees, you really need them to pollinate the flowers and the plants. There'll also be a lot of butterflies, you know. And truthfully, that's gonna really, the fact that I have these types of things mixed in helps to get my other plants to produce better. So I actually planted today over here. You'll see a little bit of some of those tomatoes from the backyard because I just have way too many. And I'm gonna put some more up here too. Actually, I took them out already, but I wanted to show you all this. This is dill and cilantro. Dill and cilantro. The ones back there have kind of died because I found those randomly in the yard and I transplanted them into this pot to see if I can keep them. But you won't believe it. This dill will get to be 5 or 6 feet tall. Like, it gets humongously tall. So you'll actually have to stake it. Now the cilantro, interesting. Because if you don't eat it fast enough, it grows super duper duper fast and turns into this. Cilantro turns into, look at these little white flowers, okay? So again, the flower theme, just like the kale. But then you see here, once the flower's gone, it creates these little seed pods. Each of these little things is a seed. And they're gonna dry up and turn brown and fall on the ground and plant themselves again. I am going to collect these and save them as well, because I really will suggest, if you want something like cilantro, to plant a staggered planting. The same thing with the tomatoes, because otherwise everything's going to grow at the exact same rate and you'll just have a whole lot to use at one time, and then you'll have periods of having any really to use. Because for me, you see all of these, look how many plants this was, but they all turn into this thing so fast I can't eat it anymore. And now it's like I have no cilantro because all I have is this little bit right here, which will be gone with one taco. So I'm just y'all see that though? And that's the front yard. We'll talk later. Bye.